Whew. Welcome everyone to the league. It is week 13, and shit's starting to heat up. Well, it's already heated. It's already hot, but it's hotting up. And a little bit of change. The Finesse have taken over the West, um, and they are ahead of the Voyagers by about a solid margin, about 49. 50 points basically. So they do have a healthy margin, and they are beating the Voyagers right now. So, and it's not looking good for them. So the Voyagers are fighting to stay ahead of the Titans Elite, who are fighting to stay ahead of the Wise Guys. So the West is still technically up for grabs at this point. Excuse me. The Trolls last week, I mean, game of the year probably. Take down the Heaters by 2 points, less than, to take control of the South. And like I said last week, the winner of that game pretty much is going to win the South because the remaining two games are against the Tiger Sharks and the Quailmen, who are eliminated and are pretty much garbaggio this year. The Dumpster Fire, with their win last week, they already clinched playoffs uh, last week or 2 weeks ago, but last week with the win, they did clinch um, the first round bye. So there is only one more first round bye up for grabs. It's most likely looking like it's going to go to the Trolls. Um, and unless the Heaters can, must do something crazy, but it's looking like it's probably going to be the Trolls. But hell, who knows what the hell is going to happen? And the Rune Dogs have overtaken the Smeagol's for second in the East. Finesse, if the playoffs were to start today, it'd be the Finesse versus the Voyagers, the Rune Dogs versus the Heaters, and the Trolls and Dumpster Fire would be the two teams holding first round buys. No one else has been eliminated yet. The Smeagol's and Wise Guys are the two next worst teams at 6-6, but they still both have chances to win the playoffs. The Wise Guys have a chance to win their fucking division. So this is nuts. Um, Technically, I want to say the Trolls have clinched the playoffs, but it's only based on points. And they are ahead of most other teams based on points. I mean, it's probably not going to happen, but I can't technically clinch. I can't put you in clinch playoffs yet, but I mean, they basically have clinched the playoffs at this point. Um, However, not mathematically speaking. But the Trolls win, and they're in next week as well, regardless of what happens, whether they win, or whatever. So if they win and they're in, or I think if the Heaters lose or whatever, I don't know what the shit. There's too many fucking teams right now that are paired up. Let's get into the power ranking. It's gonna make this shit quick. We already know who it is. You got the Cartel, you got the Quailmen, and you got the Tiger Sharks. All garbage out of there. We don't need to talk about them anymore. You got coming in at number 9 again, still the Wise Guys. I mean, there's nowhere else to put them. I mean, they're 6-6, so it seems like they're garbage, but they're in the running for the West. But they are the bottom of the West. They are the worst, I guess you'd say, 6-6 team based on points. I mean, they're I think 200 points behind the Smeagol's in points scored. So Wise Guys are just hanging on by a thread right now, but they can still see the light. So we'll see what happens. Coming in at number 8, dropping a few spots. You got the Vietnam Voyagers. This team is it just can't put it together on any one week. Missing out on JJ, losing losing best quarterbacks, for the year, making maybe a hasty trade, not even a maybe, a fairly possibly bad trade, but definitely a bad trade now, looking back, to go and get Dobbs out of desperation, um, you know, because they're still fighting for a spot, and it did not work out. And Dobbs has already been released from the Voyagers, but they have picked up Goff in his place. Um, so we'll see what can happen there. But This may be the first time the Voyagers miss out on the playoffs ever in the history of the league. So we'll see. Still got 2 weeks to go, but it's not looking good this week. Coming in at number 7, you got the Philadelphia Smeagol's. 6-6 took a tough loss. I mean, they played the fucking dumpster fire, so I mean, it's tough to win when you're playing the best team in the league. But I got them at number 7. Had to drop them down just a little bit because I think these other teams deserve to be higher since they've been sitting in that 8 and 7 spot. These other two teams got to go up. Coming in at number 6, you got the SC Titans Elite at 7-5, and you got the LA Finesse also at 7-5. Um, right now, the Finesse are looking like they're going to take a commanding lead in the West, and the Titans Elite are going to be in a very close matchup with the Wise Guys this week. To It's almost like an elimination game. If the Titans Elite lose, they still have a chance to make the playoffs. But if the Wise Guys lose, it pretty much knocks them out of contention. But again, not mathematically. So we'll see what happens. Coming in at number 4, you got the Long Island Rune Dogs, and they took a big step last week as they beat. I mean, they beat the Miami Cartel, but they're keeping pace, and with the Smeagol's losing, it gives them the leg up in the East. Well, not over the dumpster fire, but hey, the Rune Dogs are again a sneaky good team. Um, if it wasn't for a half a point craziness, you know, they would be 6-6 though. So this team is kind of teetering on the edge as well. A lot of these teams right now are just struggling, and it's all because there's another team that's hoarding all of the good players. And coming in at number 3, you got the Hickory Grove Heaters dropping down a spot. I kind of had to. I mean, you had the Trolls and you had the Heaters, so I had to drop the Heaters a spot, even though it was a really close matchup. Only lost by 2. Um, Trolls just overtake just because of that. And coming in at number 1, you got the Columbia Dumpster Fire. And the Dumpster Fire, this fucking team is it's almost a little bit. It's getting a little bit out of hand. Where, excuse me, where they're scoring the most points in the league by fucking far, and I want to say they have like 6 first-round picks next year. So this is it's looking like the start of a dynasty, and unless the Trolls and the Heaters, maybe the Rune Dogs, I think the rest of the league needs to um, basically, I don't want to say blow shit up, not blow up, but I mean they the dumpster fire are again they could be looking at a dynasty starting this year. It probably would have started last year, but this team is looking so fucking good and so stacked and so well prepared for the future that it's quite impressive, really, but it's also shitty because it makes everything very lopsided. But who knows? Maybe something will happen. Maybe some bad trades, whatever. But let's get into the matchups. Matchup number 1, you got the dumpster fire at the cartel. I mean, this is going to be fucking blowout of the week, most likely. The dumpster fire are up 33-0 at the end of the first, and that does not look like it's going to change. It's probably going to be even worse by the end of the game. Matchup number 2, you got the Tampa Bay Tiger Sharks at the Hickory Grove Heaters. Hickory Grove Heaters coming off of a tough loss last week to the Trolls. Tiger Sharks coming off of a win. So Tiger Sharks are not, well, dead in the water. They're out of the playoffs, but they're still fighting for pride at this point. And, it was really tough to pick rivalry game of the week this week. This is kind of like rivalry week at this point. This could have been rivalry game of the week, but I had to give it to a better rivalry that had something more to play for. But this should be a decent matchup. The Heaters are up 20-0 at the end of the first quarter. It looks like that should be the margin of victory is about 20 points, but Tiger Sharks are not tapping out just yet. Matchup number 3. Big time matchup, but it's already looking bad. You got the 7-5 and 7-5 Voyagers at the Finesse, battle for the West, and it's 41-0 at the end of the first half here in LA, and it's just not looking good. CD Lamb and Brandon Cooks went absolutely bonkers in the first half, and the Voyagers are banged up. Most of their entire fucking team is on the bench, so they're running with Miles Sanders at running back and Greg Dortch and Noah Brown and these guys that just have not been playing very well or are just, I mean, these guys are like wide receiver 4s and 5s and 6s, and Miles Sanders is fucking garbage, but that's who we got, and they're praying that someone on this team can step up because they have to fight for the playoffs, because if they lose, there's no guarantee that the Voyagers will get into the playoffs with a win next week if they lose this week. And it's not looking good, but hell, anything can happen in fantasy. We'll see. Matchup number 4. Woo, you got the 2-10 French Quarter Quailmen. I don't think you want your name to rhyme with your record, Dan, so I guess you should probably lose. But at the 8-4 Trentham Trolls. Sorry, Charleston Trolls. Fuck me. That's hard to beat. That's hard to get out of there. But at the end of the first half, it is the Trolls up big, 46-0. However, it looks like they may have blown their load a little bit early. However, the Quailmen have just not been there this year. They have not done the things that they've needed to do, and it looks like the Trolls should be able to win this one by about 3 touchdowns, and we'll be tuning into that just to make sure that the Trolls, because if the Trolls win, then they don't clinch the South with a win, because they are still below the Heaters when it comes to points scored by about 26. So the Heaters can still take the South, but again, it's going to be really tough. Rivalry game of the week. You got the 7-5 SC Titans Elite at the 6-6 Washington Wise Guys, and the Wise Guys are already up 36-0 at the end of the first, but it still looks like the Titans Elite are going to make a comeback. I heard the coach say that he's not fucking done yet, even though it looks like they're going to be starting Kenny Pickett in at quarterback with Lamar Jackson riding the bench. So that means no OBJ, no Justin Tucker, no Roquan Smith, no Lamar Jackson for the Titans Elite in a big, big matchup. Whereas the Wise Guys, they already got 35 points out of DK fucking Metcalf. He finally shows up and blows one out of the water like we all know that he can. And he finally did it, and might be the biggest game of the year for the Wise Guys. So this is going to be a good matchup. Wise Guys should win this one by about a field goal only at this point, but we'll see. It's going to be close. Game of the week. You got the 7-5 Long Island Rune Dogs at the 6-6 Philadelphia Smeagol's. And right now, the spread on this game is an 1/8 of a point. It's ridiculous. Only 0.2 points for the spread. So this is just a straight up pick 'em on this one. Very, very good game right here. Oh man, I mean Jalen Hurts, C.J. Stroud. You know, you got Gibbs and Kamara versus King Henry and White. You know, you got Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle versus Deontay Johnson and the Sun God. You got Freiermuth and Trey McBride. Now, Trey McBride is questionable, but it looks like he's going to play, and the Rune Dogs are going to need him badly, because if he can't go, then she's got to go with Tyler Higbee, who has been okay. He just went off last week, but again, it's Higbee. You never know what's going to happen, but this should be a fantastic matchup, and give me the Dogs in a close one here. That's what I'm thinking, but we'll see. On to the prediction. Since Hunter couldn't do them again, God forbid, we got Graydon picking for the second time. Thank you, Graydon, for the quick picks. Yeah, it was a little, I guess, after the fact, but whatever. We'll take anything at this point. Again, this is kind of like a rivalry week light this week. But first, let's get from last week. Rico went 5-1, and he would have gone 6-0 if not for 2 points from the heaters. Oh well, it's the way she fucking goes. Almost got the clean sweep. So ties P-Man and myself for best prediction records on the year. So good job, Rico. We are 45-27 overall, 63%. Fucking amazing. Very good picks this year. Only E-Man has really fucked it up super bad, which is pretty astounding because Sam was high as balls when he made his picks, and he still got another win over E-Man, but whatever. So Graydon picked the Dumpster Fire to pick the Cartel in a rivalry game. Easy pick. He picked the Tiger Sharks in over the Heaters, which is extremely interesting, and I would say that's also an upset if that happens, obviously. He's got the Finesse over the Voyagers, kind of an easy pick after the fact, but probably still would have gone Finesse with everybody being dead for the Voyagers. He's got his own Trolls over the Quailmen, of course. He's got the Wise Guys over the Titans Elite in the rivalry game of the week, and he's got the Smeagol's over the Rune Dogs in the game of the week. Let's get on to golf. Holy shit. Hunter shot 5 birdies last week. Now, I don't know if we will invoke a 2-stroke penalty for not getting the vid out this week because it really wasn't up to him, I guess. You know what I mean? He wasn't scheduled to do it. So we may not invoke a penalty there, but if not for the first one, Hunter would be winning right now at 15 under, but Matt still got a couple of birdies and is sitting at 14 under. So now it's basically a 3-man fight with Graydon dropping off a little bit. Dan and Germ have not moved at all. P-Man staying the same. Joe's staying the same. Mandy and Sam and Tebow and Rico have been done for weeks. So it's basically E-Man, Hunter, and Matt, 3-man fight to the finish. 2 holes to go. Matt with a 1-stroke lead over Hunter. Hunter with a 3-stroke lead over E-Man. Who is going to take home the goal line stein? Tune in next week, but then tune in 2 weeks. But that's about it, guys. I'm trying to make this one quick this week. I'm fucking tired as balls. Haven't had a day off in weeks. Yeah. Cheers. Yeah, good luck.